Hi again, everyone. Welcome into another edition of Inside Sports. I'm Mark Keller. Thank you so much for joining us this week. We are jam-packed with local sports this time around. Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason is back in studio with us this week. He'll wrap up last weekend's Washington County Wrestling Tournament for us and look ahead to this weekend's region tournaments. Kevin Dunleavy is here to discuss boys basketball as teams make their final push of the regular season. We're just a few short days away from the announcement of the region tournament seedings. And Bob Parcelletti stops by to talk about unified sports. The state bocce tournament was held last week at Hagerstown Community College. As is often the case, Bob was there, and as always, he has some great insight that you'll want to hear. And finally, we'll get social, take a peek at what's been happening on Facebook, Twitter, and more, and tell you how you can be part of the show by tagging us on our social media platforms. A whole lot happening this week, but we'll bring it all into focus for you when Andy Mason gets us started with wrestling right after this.
When you elevate nurses, you reduce an entire town's blood pressure. Specialized medical training means top nurses, top care. Meritus. Healthcare transformed. How do you give a patient healthier healthcare? Give her doctor, nurse, PA, and therapist the same health record. Introducing electronic health records. One patient, one record, one click. Meritus. Healthcare transformed.
For the last 2 years of my education, I was going to work full-time, school full-time, and raising 2 young children by myself. I think that anybody who's desiring to continue their education or to advance their career, I think that USMH provides convenient location, affordable pricing, and again, they have instructors that really care about sending their students off with the experience and the education that they need to succeed.
When it comes to hearing loss, who will be taking care of you? Audiologist Dr. Karen Hamilton is Hagerstown's hearing doctor, working to improve the quality of life for those with hearing loss. At Audiology Services, Dr. Hamilton focuses on evaluation and diagnosis to provide solutions for treating hearing loss. Using the latest technology, she programs hearing aids to meet your unique needs and ensures they fit properly and comfortably. Audiology Services participates with most insurance companies and will check benefits and file claims on your behalf. Dr. Hamilton and her team also serve the community through Hagerstown Hearing, which focuses on providing crystal clear sound in places such as theaters, churches, offices, and homes. Hagerstown Hearing installs looping systems that allows those with hearing loss to enjoy speech clarity and noise reduction, providing an experience like never before. To learn more about Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, call 301-790-3300. Audiology Services and Hagerstown Hearing, providing crystal clear sound.
Welcome back into Inside Sports, starting off the program today with some wrestling. Andy Mason is here, sports editor of the Herald Mail. And Andy, the Washington County tournament this past weekend, and Williamsport on top again for the second straight year.
Yeah, second straight year and 12th time overall. This was the 29th annual Washington County Wrestling Tournament, and they've now won it 12 times. So they're the all-time leader, and they broke the tie with North, which has won it 11 times. And yeah, they were dominant. They sent 9 wrestlers to the finals. I say only, they only came away with 3 champions. I think they had hoped for a few more, but they were still impressive. Freshman Zach Starr got things started at 106 pounds. And their other 2 champs were junior Brandon Oyster at 195 and senior Taquan Johnson, who kept his season perfect at 285. Those 2 heavier guys both became 2-time county champs.
Surprising to me anyway, I'll say. South Hagerstown finishing second.
Yeah,
First time they ever finished second.
Well, they actually matched. They finished second a few times
Okay.
before, so they matched their best ever performance at counties by finishing second. And they were really impressive in the finals. I think they had 6 guys in the finals, but they won 5 titles, more than anyone else. And they came ready to wrestle. Vince Salgado at 132, Caleb Everhart at 138, Nick Kelball at 160, who became a 3-time county champ as a junior, and Mike Tunis at 182, and Vince Fiery at 220. Now, Everhart and Kelball, those titles were expected. The other 3, I'd say, weren't. Salgado at 132, facing Malachi Cunningham from Williamsport, a kid he'd lost to the 2 times they'd faced this season. He gets into that final, bam, he's up 8-2, then he's up 10-5, then he pins him. Tunis at 182, he's down 6-2 against Williamsport's Bloran Rookie. Second period, down 6-2. Looks like he's might lose. gets Rookie on his back, gets the pin. And then Vince Fiery facing Keegan Kidweiler from Boonesboro in that final at 220. Kidweiler, they'd wrestled 4 times this season. Kidweiler had won all 4 of them. In the county final, Vince Fiery was ready to go, got the title, got the important one.
Talk about what something like that, a second place finish, can do for a program like South Hagerstown that hasn't typically been in that hierarchy in the county. What can that do for that program going forward?
It's great for them. You know, they've really been a program on the rise these last few years. This was their 2nd straight year they got to the region duels. They're winning a lot more matches than they're losing. They're sending 9 guys to the region tournament this coming weekend. Yeah, it's great. I mean, you know, the program's starting to win. It's a sport at South that kids want to join and be a part of.
Let's go a little bit further down the list. Boonesboro finishing 3rd and North Hagerstown 4th in the team standings.
Yeah, so Boonesboro, they were in 2nd for a lot of the tournament until South got on that roll in the finals. They passed Boonesboro. Boonesboro did really well in the consolation round, had a bunch of 3rd place finishers, but they only had one champion, Max Christ at 170. He became a 2-time county champ. I will say this, I don't want to forget to mention it. Tristan Cook, who last year became Boonesboro's first ever state wrestling champion, senior this year, undefeated record. He did not wrestle. Spinal cord injury is done for the year. Very disappointing for them. Now he's expected to fully recover, and maybe we'll be back on the track team this spring. He's a state champ in the discus as well. But yeah, his wrestling season's over, and that's really disappointing for them. North, 4th place. Pretty sure that's their worst finish ever. I don't think they've ever been outside the top 3. But it says 2 things. You know, they have a rebuilding. They're rebuilding this year. It also shows that, you know, the county's pretty strong in wrestling because North's still not that bad. So, you know, it's just the county overall is better than it's been some years.
And despite that, still had a few individual champions.
Oh, yeah.
North did.
Yeah, freshman Thomas Munn at 113 looked fantastic. You know, he won by tech fall in the final. He's a young star. Tyler Cook, Jr., he got his 2nd title, 2nd county title, 126. He was state runner-up last year. And then Sam Hardman at 145, who, like Cook, won a Hub Cup title earlier this year. He got his first county title. And then Smithsburg got 5th. They had 2 champs, no surprise. Shane Havermel at 120 and Josh Atkinson at 152 for Atkinson. For Havermel, it was his 2nd county title. Atkinson is 3rd straight at 152. Atkinson is still unbeaten this year.
So now with the county tournament in the rearview mirror, we look ahead to this weekend. We have the region tournaments this weekend. Yeah,
region tournament. You know, this is what it's all about. First you have to get there, and then, you know, the top 4 in each weight class go to states. We have Boonesboro, Smithsburg, and Williamsport in 2A, 1A West at Winters Mill. That's Friday, Saturday, and then North and South are in 4A, 3A West in Clarksburg, also set for 2 days, Friday, Saturday. And 2A, 1A West, it's just absolutely loaded. It's the toughest region in the state of any classification. Southern Garrett, Damascus, Williamsport, 3 of the top 4 public school ranked teams in the whole state. They are all in 2A, 1A West. So those getting the states out of that region is very difficult. You get the states out of 2A, 1A West, you're a podium contender.
Yeah, big numbers of qualifiers for the teams, for local teams.
Yeah, we have 39 kids still alive. Williamsport has 11, 2 number 1 seeds, Brandon Oyster and Taquan Johnson, and Zayden Meyer, who we didn't mention earlier. He kind of got a little hurt his knee at the county tournament, but he should be back. He's seeded 2nd. Boonesboro has sending 8. John Grimm, who's the county runner-up at 160, actually got the number 1 seed in 2A, 1A West. He lost to Kelball in 4A, 3A in the county final. And Max Christ is number 2 at 170. Smithsburg is sending 5. Shane Havermel and Josh Atkinson are both number 2 seeds. Atkinson, even though he's unbeaten, he's going in as the number 2, wow. And Havermel's going in as the number 2. But the kid who's ranked number 1, he pinned last year in the state semi, so he's got to be feeling pretty good. South Hagerstown sending 9. Everhart, who won a county title last year, or won a region title last year, just won a county title last weekend. He and Kelball are both number 1 seeds. And North is sending 6. Tyler Cook is number 1 seed. Thomas Monza number 2. And yeah, Cook won a region title last year.
Wow. Okay, so region tournament is this coming weekend, state tournament the following weekend. We don't want to get out of here without mentioning St. James, a big achievement for them.
Yes, they won the B division title at the Maryland Independent School State Tournament this past weekend at Hartford Community College. Now, there were 30 total teams that competed. They finished 13th overall, but they were first among the B or small school. You know, their point total had them first among the small schools, so they left with the B division plaque, which, yeah, big accomplishment for them. Second time in program history they've done it. I believe it was 2 years ago they did it for the first time. And they were led by, again, TJ Culette, their senior, placed third at 170 pounds and impressively finished his career as a 4-time state place winner.
Congratulations to him. Congratulations to the Saints as well. Andy, thanks for joining us. We'll have Andy back next week to wrap up the region tournament and look ahead to the state tournament. Coming up after this break, we'll have Kevin Dunleavy here to talk some boys basketball.
We've been coming to Rick's for about 3 or 4 years. The staff at Rick's is wonderful.
It is the cheers of Hagerstown.
Everybody knows your name.
They've actually become a lot of our friends.
Treat you like family. They know you by name.
It's nice to be able to go somewhere as quality as this that's not a chain restaurant.
The food is unique. They get creative. It's fresh food.
And they make great drinks.
The word is in. Local, casual, and always epic. That's Rick's Cafe.
Primetime for Women is no ordinary show. It's the exciting live audience TV show for and about women in the prime of life. Since every woman deserves to be seen and heard, cameras capture the audience as they interact with national celebrities, local experts, and guest presenters. Join me, Bernadette Wagner, for Primetime for Women.
Tune in every Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. and Saturday and Sundays at 8 a.m. for Primetime for Women on WCL-TV channels 806 and 6.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We're going to talk some boys basketball now. Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy here with us. Kevin, we've talked a lot about North Hagerstown, talked a lot about Williamsport over the last few weeks, and those two squared off last week. North Hagerstown getting the better of Williamsport 56-52 in overtime.
Yeah, it was another tooth and nail struggle. The first game was just like it as well, a real defensive-minded game. In fact, North now, the two lowest scoring outputs for Williamsport this year have been against North, and that shows you how good North's defense is, and their rebounding especially. They out-rebounded them a lot in both games, and looking at the stats, that's been an amazing thing for North. They've had 300 more rebounds than their opponents this year, which works out to about a 14-point margin per game. That's sort of unheard of in basketball, but it shows you how much they're getting after the ball, and it's not just the talent, it's not just the size, a lot of that is just desire.
And you mentioned before, this is kind of the unofficial Washington County championship game in terms of public schools. North taking that 8-0 against county teams this year. They're the first team to do that since South did it in 2014-15. And this North Williamsport has really become quite a rivalry between those two teams.
Yeah, I think over the last 4 years, they've decidedly been the two best teams in the county. Clear Springs had some real good teams, but it's becoming more and more of a charged atmosphere too. You can feel it. It's almost that north-south atmosphere. Not quite at that level yet, but it's getting there. And two really well-coached teams, two teams that just work hard. And that sort of sort of is evident on the court. The teams that really want it and are always playing defense hard, and a lot of that's the coaching of both guys of Kevin Hartman at North and Ryan Grable at Williamsport have instilled in their teams consistently. So intensity is part of it on the floor, and then it conveys over to the stands too.
And two teams I would imagine that we're going to be talking about and looking at coming forward here as we look at playoff pairings coming out next week.
Yeah, North's in a really difficult section, but they're going to be dangerous with what they've got. They would have to play Ligonor potentially, or Thomas Johnson, teams that they've lost to this year. But I think they're dangerous right now. They've won 5 in a row. They're playing as good as they can play, and they're fairly healthy compared to what they've been, previous during the season. It hasn't been a smooth ride for them. They've had several injuries that they've overcome, and has kind of taken away their depth. So I think they're ready to go. Williamsport's in a much easier section, but then if they were to win their section title, they'd face a really tough game in the next, in the region final, which is expected because they play in a very tough 2A West region. So.
Let's talk about some of the smaller schools now, and we'll start with Clear Spring and a milestone point total for Mike Myers up there in Clear Spring, the leading scorer in Washington County right now, and topped the 1,000-point mark for his career this past week.
Yeah, this was a big deal. Senior nights are sometimes very predictable, and you get the same sort of thing, and they're kind of mundane almost. But this made it really special. Everybody was anticipating, that he was going to make the 1,000 points. You had a bunch of students that were holding signs up that counted off how many points he had, and that gym is so noisy with the size of it, even if the crowd isn't that big, but. It was really loud, and it was a great tribute to Myers, who's had a fantastic year considering he's doubled his scoring average from his first 2 years on the varsity. So he's been great, and they were great that night. They won by 31 points against a team that they lost to earlier in the year. So it was a perfect night for them and shows how far they've come, and they're ready for the playoffs now, I think.
Yeah, 65-34 win over Catoctin. Haven't had too many 1,000-point scorers up there at Clear Spring. They had another great game on Monday against Smithsburg, a game that came down to the wire. Smithsburg winning that one 56-55 over Clear Spring, but this was really one to see.
Yeah, Clear Spring led most of the way. They had beaten them earlier in the year in a really tough game that went overtime, but Smithsburg had a 16-0 run in the third quarter, and Bryce Keller was the star for Smithsburg. He hit a 3 at the end of the game. He also triggered the run earlier in the game with a 4-point play, a rare 4-point play, and that must have been a good game. And that was good to see for Smithsburg because they had lost 5 in a row in games decided by 3 or fewer points. They had gone 0-4, so this was kind of a getting over a big hump for them to win a close game, and to lose close games is kind of expected when you're a young team like they are. They got 3 sophomores in the starting lineup, and this is a big step for them.
So I have more on the playoff pairings. Those are due to come out next Tuesday. We'll talk about those on next week's show. So let's switch from public schools to private real quick. And Broadfording has quite a streak going on going into the MDCC tournament coming up here.
Yeah, they're the overwhelming favorite. They've won every game in the league. Now 35-game winning streak coming into the tournament. They've beaten everybody by at least 19 points, I believe it is this year. So it would take a monumental upset for them not to win the league. It would be their 3rd straight title if they win it.
And then quite an interesting game for St. Maria Greta coming up this week as well, Thursday night as we're airing this against St. Stephen's St. Agnes.
Yeah, they have a game that's kind of unusual on the schedule in that it's between the end of the regular season for their BCL Baltimore Catholic League and the BCL tournament. It's with the Saints of St. Stephen's St. Agnes, forgot their name for a minute. They're 22-3. They won their league, and they're ranked number 7 on the Washington Post, so they're a really quality opponent. They got a good big man, and that's what you need to compete with Goretti because they got 2 really good big men. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kevin, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll have Bob Parcelletti coming up next to talk unified sports. Stay with us.
Frostburg's program at USMH was definitely closer to home, allowed me to stay at home while I had the opportunity to substitute in Washington County Public Schools. The scholarships at USMH really allowed me to walk out, being able to pay it off much more quickly and being able to pursue my graduate degree at a quicker rate. I would say to anyone considering USMH, allows you to build better relationships in the community and something that's definitely a great opportunity to pursue and leads to a better career.
We've been coming to Rick's for about 3 or 4 years. The staff at Rick's is wonderful.
It is the cheers of Hagerstown.
Everybody knows your name.
They've actually become a lot of our friends.
Treat you like family. They know you by name. It's nice to be able to go somewhere as quality as this that's not a chain restaurant.
The food is unique. They get creative. It's fresh food.
And they make great drinks.
The word is in. Local, casual, and always epic. That's Rick's Cafe.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. Something a little bit different now. We're going to talk about unified sports. and somebody who's a bit of an expert on that for the Herald Mail, and that's Bob Parsoletti. Bob, you've covered a lot of the unified sports events over the last 10 years now that's been in existence here in Washington County. Tell us a little bit about what unified sports is and what the bocce tournament was at HCC last week.
Well, unified sports was a movement that was started. Maryland's one of the pioneer states in it. And it's a movement to include special needs children the opportunity to compete in sports. I mean, a lot of us in my age range in the years when we were growing up, when you approached or saw a special needs kid, you decided, you kind of shied away from them. You didn't really know how to handle them. And it's just the way, like a lot of things, it's a scare thing, you don't know what to do. And this movement or these sports have made it so the kids are included. They are now able to compete in a varsity sport, win a varsity letter, wear the school colors, have that school pride, get the feeling of going out and competing and have people cheering for them. And, to tell you about it, I mean, it's something that everybody craves, and this gives them the opportunity.
Happens all 3 seasons here in Washington County in the fall. They play unified tennis. In winter, it's bocce ball. In the springtime, it's track and field. So, as we mentioned, Bob, you covered the state bocce tournament last week at Hagerstown Community College, and in Boonesboro had 2 teams there. Both end up winning state titles in that. But it's really not so much about winning and losing with these teams, is it?
Well, it's a big deal to get to the state tournament. It's basically 32 teams make it, and they're broken up into 4 18 brackets. There's a scoring thing that divides them. I mean, the highest scoring 8 teams are in the first bracket, and so on. So there's a proficiency as opposed to classes, and so Boonesboro had 1 team in the first division, 1 team in the second division, and then Smithsburg, which finished second, was in the 4th division. So we had 3 teams from Washington County in it, and all 3 got top 2, or better in it. Basically, the sport itself is lawn bowling, and that's what bocce is. But for people that don't know what it is, it's kind of like a horseshoes or jarts kind of thing, where you have kind of an object that you're aiming at. In this case, it's a little golf ball, and you try to roll your scoring balls to the closest to it, and the team with the closest to it, from 1 to 4 balls, that's how many points they get, and they play to like 16 or a half hour, whichever comes first. So this, and the beauty of this is that these kids, these special needs kids, are called the athletes. And they're teamed with regular athletes. I mean, there's football players and basketball players and all that playing with them, and they compete together. So they're called unified partners, by the way. And it's just a thing that everybody gets excited about, because watching how everybody reacts to it. The parents don't even get upset, which is the thing that amazes me. I go to regular basketball games and football games, and parents want to hang the coach for everything. It's not even a factor here.
I was going to say, you say bocce or lawn bowling. That doesn't sound like the most exciting game going by any stretch, but I would imagine just the kids who are involved and the enthusiasm that they're showing is part of what makes it so exciting to watch.
I guess if you're going to talk about the excitement level, it's probably like watching Olympic curling in the Winter Olympics, that thing where they slide the rock and it's kind of like shuffleboard. People go nuts over that, but it's the same kind of sport and the same kind of excitement. There's that the one boy that played for Smithsburg, his name was Michael Douglas. He says the beauty of this thing is it's competitive, but it's not, because there's as much luck as as skill. He goes, you play until the last ball and you don't know who's going to win.
One of the things that that our generation kind of hears a lot is with the younger generation. That you hear that how bad participation trophies are, and you know, everybody gets a ribbon, everybody gets a medal, that kind of thing. That's kind of something that's happening here, but it's not a bad thing, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, you know, these kids go out there, and I mean, both groups get it. The unified partners and the athletes get the ribbons and all that. But it's just the idea that they get the feeling of being winners. I mean, you know, how many things do we do in life that, you know, are predicated on winning and losing? I mean, we do things every day that if we're successful, we consider ourselves a winner. And this gives every kid a chance to get that feeling, no matter what, you know. I mean, there was kids in wheelchairs playing in this. You know, they get as all excited about it as much as anybody else. It's their chance. It's their moment in the sun, and it's kind of cool.
It's something that we sort of take for granted, that ability to compete. You know, we covered it for so many years in the sports department, and you know, the so-called able-bodied athletes, and you take that for granted. This is a chance to get those other kids an opportunity. I really encourage you to look up some of Bob's coverage of unified sports over the past few years on heraldmailmedia.com. Bob does a great job covering that. Lots of heartwarming stories, so really encourage you to do that.
Everybody should go out and just watch one of these. That's what it is. I think they'll realize what sports is supposed to be about again.
Do that. Take Bob's advice and go see one. Bob, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll have our social media segment coming up right after this.
Buddy, you're a young man, hard man, shouting in the street. You're gonna take on the world someday. You got blood on your face, a big disgrace, waving your banner all over the place. We will rock you.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Digital customers, tune to Channel 1 to get started.
For the last 2 years of my education, I was going to work full-time, school full-time, and raising 2 young children by myself. I think that anybody who's desiring to continue their education or to advance their career, I think that USMH provides convenient location, affordable pricing, and again, they have instructors that really care about sending their students off with the experience and the education that they need to succeed.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We're going to take a few moments here to check out social media and see what people have been talking about on Twitter recently in regards to local sports. The Boonesboro High School track and cross country programs at BHS Warriors, CCTF, tweeted this on Monday: boys 1A champs for the three-peat. It was close, but the Warriors did defend their state indoor track title for the second consecutive year, holding off Lackey by 4 points in the team standings to complete yet another championship season for the Boonesboro running program. Our friend Braden Leather from Herald Mail Media at Leather Baseball got in on the act as well, retweeting Dan Kaufman at HM Sports Dan with this line: death, taxes, and Boonesboro winning cross-country or track titles. It does almost seem like a sure thing for the Warriors at this point. You'll want to check out Dan's coverage of the 2 days of the indoor state track championships at www.heraldmailmedia.com with stories, lots of photos, and complete local results. And Dan will be here with us next week on Inside Sports to give us the rundown, so you have another reason now to come back. Smithsburg Baseball at SHS_baseball retweeted Texas Christian University Baseball at TCU_baseball as they celebrated one of their own with the message, another milestone for number 22 at TCU Schloss. Congratulations, Coach. TCU's head coach is Jim Schlossnagle, a Smithsburg graduate who registered his 650th win at TCU on Sunday. Schlossnagle has turned the Horned Frogs into a national powerhouse since his arrival in 2004. They've appeared in the NCAA tournament 13 times in the last 15 seasons and advanced to the College World Series 5 times. He also won 77 games in 2 seasons at UNLV before he took the job at TCU, so he's very quickly closing in on 750 career victories. Congratulations indeed to Jim Schlossnagle on that milestone and the continuation of an incredible career. Hit us up on social media with your pictures or videos. On Twitter, we are at Inside Sports OL. On Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, it's at Inside Sports Now. We could include your social media post in this segment next week. That does it for us this week. Thanks to our Herald Mail insiders, Andy Mason, Kevin Dunleavy, and Bob Parcelletti for joining us in the studio. And our thanks again to you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers.